back, Dolph fans. So we're gonna just go over the pick real quick, and I just want to talk about Jonah. Jonah is it was a very good pick. I think, I think it's one of those picks that when you think of this, some people might not like the trade. When you think about this draft is very top heavy. This is what the issue was coming into this. Now there's some potential players which we'll go over in this video, but it's very top heavy. It was very much so a draft that like 1 through 70 are going to be picks that could really, like, you could for sure start. And then the rest of them are like, I don't really know if they're going to be able to, they could either make a huge impact or they could just not do anything at all. So with Jonah, what they were thinking is instead of getting, a potential player at 98, you want to trade and make sure you get both the types of players that you wanted to get. And when you think of this, Jonah, at that point, we're going to the second round. Most likely everybody was going to go. It was in the second round. We had pick 48. At that time, people were going to start picking players. Who else went in the first round? Ursery was like the only other one. When you looked at that second round, the only real player that had any semblance of being a starter was Jonah. And he was not going to make it that far. You know what I'm saying? I think, if I could be real, the Patriots, the Saints, even the Bills and the Jets, all of these teams, San Francisco, all of these teams would have tried to get him. All of these teams, every single one of them, they would have tried to get him. So I think trading up to get Jonah was the only move. You didn't want to sit there and relax, because at this point, this draft, it was a struggle, getting past to where we were at. You weren't getting anybody. And like I said, you weren't getting anybody. And when it comes to corner, I know a lot of people wanted to get cornerbacks. Chris Greer has hit on late round cornerbacks. Cater, Nick Needham, he has hit. We have to see what Cam Smith does. I understand that people are down on him because of what is going on, but I definitely think this is his third year. They're going to see what he has, and Rasul Douglas and Asante Samuel are still out there. So you can sign one of those guys. Mike Hilton is another guy that's still out there. And what I think you can really design the Dolphins as is, right now, when we get into the video in a second, you are going to see that there's some edge players that you can go and get. And if you get one of those guys, your front seven with Chop Robinson, Jalen Phillips, Bradley Chubb, the two linebackers, Zach Sealer, Kenneth Grant, and possibly a big-time edge rusher, you have such a solid front that the back end doesn't necessarily need to be Pro Bowlers, because you're going to be getting after the quarterback so much. I think Kenneth Grant was just I miss Christian Wilkins a lot, and I think one of the biggest keys to this draft is, really one of the keys to this is that sign your own players back. Stop spending money on crazy free agents, because what really killed us is we essentially drafted Robert Hunt and a Christian Wilkins when we had them in the building, if we just signed them back. Now, I understand that circumstances were, but with these players, sign them back. It's going to be the end of their rookie contract. Sign them if they are valuable starting players. Sign them. Don't do this crap that you've been doing, because essentially what you just did is you drafted players that you already had in the building. And what's key to this is you drafted players you already had in the building that you could have signed back, that had the culture, and you signed players that are leaving, Tyreek Hill and Jalen Ramsey, for the same contracts that you could have signed these guys for. That's kind of the key here. And instead of getting greedy with what you wanted, letting a rebuild happen. That's what a lot of these teams did. They let that rebuild happen instead of just spending astronomical amounts of money on Tyreek Hill, Jalen Ramsey, Teron Armstead, all of these different players. This is what we did here. We just signed two players that could possibly turn into the same type of players that we had before. But I do like it. I think Jonas Savaiinaea is, 330 He just has to get better at the run game, which I think Anthony Weaver is going to do that. Solid pick, 340. Solid pick, great pass blocker. Very solid pick, Kenneth Grant. And like I said, we'll get into it. So yeah, we're going to go over right now. I talked about Jonas Savaiinaea. I keep getting that name wrong. But, honestly, before we get into this, actually, we'll get into this. I probably just talked about that right now, knowing these two different things. The best available players, there's still a lot of players that are there. We don't really need to talk about Shedeur Sanders. I think we all understand he's kind of like a cocky dude that, has his dad, pulling for him. People don't really want to deal with that. When you're talking about the best available players, Alik Yominair, big wide receiver. If you're looking for a wide receiver, 6'2", definitely someone to take a look at. I would honestly, what you want to do in this next coming part of the draft is you want to get at least one more starting player. That's right now you got two. Kenneth Grant and Savaiinaea. They're going to be two starting players on this team. So you just want to get one more starting player. If you get two, that's great, but you want to get one more starting player with the amount of picks that you have. I think we have a fourth, 2/5, and a bunch of 7s. So that's what you want to get. And when you look at this, there's still some very high potential players. Like you have CJ West, who, if you want to go another defensive interior, you have someone right there that could be on there. You have some offensive linemen. If you look at the O-line, Connor Colby is a good one that I would definitely take a look at. You got Marcus Imbo. Where is he? Right over here. If you want to take another swing at an offensive lineman, he's definitely there. And honestly, when you see Chris Greer, you have Cam Smith. Kader Kohu was a good hit. Nick Needham was another good hit. Typically, he does pretty well at at getting late round corners. And really, when you look at this next part of the draft, you got Dorian Strong, who's a very, very high potential player. I think he's like 6'1", high potential player. So he's somebody to take a look at. One of my key gems, Kobe Bryant, I think is another very high potential player. Honestly, more of a football player. I think he's kind of the dog of the group. You got Zy Alexander down in the later part. You know what I'm saying? So you have some players here that you could definitely take a swing on in the 4th round. I would take a swing on Dorian Strong or Kobe Bryant. If they're going to do that, like I said, you have some receivers here like Jalen Royals. He's somebody that would be a good fit over here. Kind of like that big, strong guy that Tua could need. A Yominair, Torrey Horton, if you want, a big guy. Isaiah Bond is someone, that would be exactly what Mike McDaniel likes. Super fast receiver. You got Kanata Mumfield. Dante Thornton is a big dude, 6'5", 4'3". That's someone that you could take a look at. This is another gem that I think he can definitely turn into something. So you got some players here, and honestly, what I could see in the 4th round, I don't want to hear the Shedeur Sanders things. If Shedeur Sanders fell to the 4th round, there's something wrong with him. Just saying that. So my guys in the 4th round, what I would consider for each position is obviously a receiver. You have Yominair and Jalen Royals would be top picks for me. Braden Swinson, and Jared Ivey and Elijah Roberts is another person that you could take a look at. I think he is somebody that could really fit well in this scheme that we have. And if you want like another run-stopping type of dude, this is your guy. 6'4", 295. You're getting a run stopper. He's definitely a gem, dude. This is one of the guys that I really like. I think, in SMU, he definitely can fit the role. You need someone that can run stop alongside of Sealer, and if you get him in the the fourth round, you have a dude that can come in, and your offensive line is significantly bigger than it was last year. So I would think on him. Braden Swinson is another one that I really do like. He's more of a pass rusher, which could also work for us. But in the fourth round, if you're picking edge rushers, Kyle Kennard is still there too. Kyle Kennard is another one. But if you're picking edge rushers, like a specific 3-4 edge rusher, Elijah Roberts is a solid pick. Like, this dude, he's definitely 8 sacks this year, 13 last year. I think you got to take a good look at him. If you're going safety, which sometimes people, a lot of safeties hit in the later rounds typically. You got Nathan Ransom, and I did not do that. You got Nathan Ransom and my favorite, R.J. Mickens. You also have Billy Bowman. Billy Bowman is that box safety if you're going to go safety. And the thing is, we get a corner, and I also truly believe that we might get a corner in one of those later picks. There's a decent amount of them that can definitely turn into something. And you're going to get free agents. You guys forget that when we go to free agents, you definitely have some cornerbacks in free agency. That's what I think they're betting on. They're not trying to get a young rookie to come in and try and do their thing. You got Rasul Douglas, you got Asante Samuel, you got Mike Hilton, you even got Stephon Gilmore and Shaquille Griffin. You can even sign back Kendall Fuller. Kendall Fuller's still there. So you have some players. I think honestly you can sign either one of these guys and you'll be good, and the thing is what I think you're really trying to do right now is you're trying to build on where do I get this? You're trying to build on just having such a solid defensive line that you don't need anybody else. You can get some corners in the later rounds, and you can definitely just plug in one of those guys. It's not going to be the greatest corner. You're not going to have a shutdown corner, but you have someone that can definitely make an impact. Jack Sawyer is there, but like I said, I definitely like what's his name? Tyler Batty's there. Tyler Batty's another one that you could definitely take a look at. I definitely want much more of a bigger edge style player. I don't want a pass rusher because we already have a crap ton of pass rushers. Zach Sealer is a pass rusher, plus he's a run style. He's just an all-around. He needs a new contract, straight up. He needs a new contract. Do not let that guy walk out the door. You got a bunch of pass rushers coming back with Chubb and Phillips and Chop and all of them. So I don't really necessarily want a pass rusher. I want someone that has some pass rush ability, but is a run stopper. And that's why I really, if they get Elijah Roberts, I'd be very happy because I think he's a solid player. And yeah, you can also, if I don't think running back, I think Jalen Wright, you picked him in the third round for a reason. You got some tight ends that you could take a look at. Mitchell Evans and Thomas Fadone II is a high potential guy. Gunnar Helm is going to be, your prototypical type of dude, but you're not really getting a tight end that can really do anything, or you're not going to count on them to do anything really in this area. And linebackers, Chris Paul Jr. is somebody that you could take a look at if you're looking for a linebacker. Smaller guy, but runs all around the field. If you want to take a look, Danny Stutzman, Jeffrey Bassa, Barrett Carter, Jack Kaiser. You got like 5 guys that could possibly take a starting role. Smell Munden as well. That could possibly take a starting role. I love Jack Kaiser. I think he's just a prototypical linebacker. So I think that's someone there. Barrett Carter is somebody that I think is, another fast running around guy. Jeffrey Bassa, You have another dude used to play safety. But yeah, I mean, with these guys, Danny Stutzman is another like a Landon Roberts type guy. You can get some depth right there. And like I said, if you can sit there and let's see, who do we draft? Where are we drafting? We are drafting at 116. So we are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. We're pick 14 in the 4th round. And then I think we have 2 fifths. Yeah. 3 fifths. Oh my gosh, we have 3 fifths. Do we have a 6? No, we didn't get a 6 on that trade. Yeah, no. And then we have like 3 sevenths. So with the 4th and 5th picks, if you can possibly, let's see, I'll take, if you can possibly, even Dylan Sampson, if you want a running back, and, get another Tennessee guy. If you get CJ West, Jared Ivey's another one. This is another one. I didn't even see him here. Jared Ivey is definitely another dude. If you can get, because it looks like right here, edge rushers, you can even possibly pick Marcus Embo and double down on offensive line. If you can get an edge rusher and a safety out of this, and like I said, if Marcus Embo is there, he's the only one that I think could really have starting potential. He's the only one. Yeah. But yeah, if you can either go Marcus Embo, Elijah Roberts, even Jack Sawyer is an option, or Dorian Strong, RJ Mickens. You got a lot of players there in that 4th round. If you can hit on someone in that 4th round, which I would strongly suggest, it's either going to be an edge rusher or a corner. Edge rusher or corner, one of the two. If you can hit on whoever you get and then try and finagle something, because you have 7 picks left. Yeah, you have 7 picks. If you can hit on 2 of those, maybe one of those, you're good to go. Because I truly think that we hit already on both of our picks. But yeah, let me know what you think. But yeah, if we can hit on at least one of those, this is a solid draft. Because again, we got our starting defensive interior nose tackle and we got our offensive guard. Very solid picks, not gonna lie. I do like it a lot. I think they did very well. I think, when you're going into the 3rd round, it's going to be iffy. So they shot their 3rd round to get a player that they know is going to start. I think it was a solid move. So yeah, as you can see, there's a lot of players. And if you just hit on one more, just one, and I like Kobe Bryant. I like the SMU edge rusher. There's a bunch of players. There's you even have Cameron Phillips. Jack Sawyer is still there. You got RJ Mickens and Nathan Ransom at safety. Even if Marcus Embo is there, which I don't think he's falling all the way to us, but we'll see. You got some safeties, man. Jordan Ivey. You got some safeties. And even in the later rounds, Tyler Batty, Billy Bowman. Who else we got? Miles Frazier is still there, a guard, if you want to double down on that. If you want a little craziness, Jaden Blue or Ollie Gordon at running back in the 7th round. Isaiah Bonds there. Willie Lampkin, another guard. Jack Kaiser, I like. Peebles, and what's his name? Something Peebles is another defensive tackle if you want to double down on that. Tyler Barron from the U is a very high potential pass rushing player. Jalen Travis, Thomas Fedone, Malachi Moore. The list goes on and on. There's a bunch of players still in this draft. Connor Colby at guard. Tyler Cooper is a high potential guy. If you want another running back, Bayshul Tootin from Virginia Tech, very freaking shifty running back. He could definitely do something. Yeah, there's a lot of players. There's a significant amount of players. Nick Nash is still there. If you are liking a big receiver, Nick Nash is there. Yeah, there's a lot of guys, man. A lot of guys. Theo Wise, Simeon Barrow, the defensive interior. Like I said, Ollie Gordon is another guy that I think we should really take a look at. He is someone that can turn into something. Bo Collins. Just a lot of players, man. I can get just looking through the whole list. There's a lot of people still here. Timothy McKay, Joshua Gray, Clay Webb. Yeah. So you got some stuff. It's just up to them to pick one more guy. And like I said, we're going to see. I think give it some time. I think we solidified the offensive line. I think probably getting maybe one more guy would help. Signing back Isaiah Wynn. I think that would be something. Sign back Isaiah Wynn. Brandon Scherf is still there. Will Hernandez is still there. Sign some depth after you get rid of Jalen Ramsey. And, I think we're in not a bad spot. Tyron Smith is still out there. You can still get, Jedrick Wills is still out there. You can get some guys for cheap and solidify this thing. But let me know down in the comments. I think it was a great day. But yeah, like I said, let me know down in the comments what you guys think about Jonah. I think he's a very solid pick. I think the Dolphins did a great job. With this draft. They got exactly who they wanted. And I think, you put two guys in there that kind of changed this front seven for both sides. I think it was great. I think they did really good. I really like both draft picks, and I think they're both going to start. Love you all. Fins up, baby. Peace.